some Rogue versus Mage, which honestly is a matchup that I think we talked about this last week when we were talking about our favorite matchups to watch. Is one of my favorites to watch because of the amount of crazy things that can happen. A lot of random generation happening on both sides, which makes games interesting.
Yep, and we've seen this happen before. This is, I'm pretty sure, card for card, the same exact list that Psycho was playing, and it's the largely accepted one. You have Rogue, which you tech a little bit in the very beginning half, and then you have an anti-mage deck with the Fairy Dragon's Walk to Plank Eviscerate Betrayal. And you also have the anti-warrior with the Coppertail Imposter Wargear package and Cairn Bloodhoof.
Yeah, we've seen this this style of specialist lineup from Rogue for some time now, at least the past 3 weeks. That mech version for the anti-warrior not going to come into play here. Purple is the only player in Americas who did bring warriors, so maybe something that we see later on in the weekend. But here's PNC's deck list. He's teched his primary deck to be the anti-rogue deck with a Frostbolt and a halftime Scavenger, because his secondary deck is for warrior and his tertiary deck is for mage mirrors. So normally what mages do is they'll have one deck for each of the most popular archetypes in the metagame right now, which is one for bomb warrior, one for mage, and one for rogue.
Yep, so we'll see if that ends up being to his benefit or to his detriment, because we saw in the previous series, despite the fact that Bunny Hopper had that exact list as well, didn't really get over the hump. We're going to start things off with Game 1, PNC. Being able to qualify into a division where his best record was 7-7 as the third place. That might look a little weird, but largely it's because of the dominance of the rest of the division. You look at Frozen being 12-4, Eddie being, 10-6, just clear heads and shoulders across of everyone else in terms of record. PNC got in third place through tiebreakers, being able to beat out Amnesiac, Strife, Crow, Muzzy, and Bloody Goose.
Yeah, it was a pretty insane last week, but PNC ended up coming out on top of it all, at least for that third place spot. But Monsanto, all the second seeds across each of the divisions for regions play cross-region. So Monsanto has not played a match this season against PNC or Frozen, who are the two players he's facing off in this playoff version. So it's been interesting to see, since we haven't seen these guys face off. We have no prior record. Now, both of these players were players that competed a ton in tour stops over the past year, both of them making their spots in Grandmasters based off of points. So they have a history of playing against each other, just not in Grandmasters.
I want to know good.
That's right, and they're both also on the same team. So they used to help practice with each other, or at least bounce ideas, and they are fated opponents. Only one player out of these 6 can go to the global finals, and only 2 players out of these 3 can advance to the semifinals.
Well, Monsanto's starting off with some nice early pressure.
Hexlord Malacras.
Ooh. So Hexlord Malacras will pull Evil Miscreant, Shadow Step, SI7 Agent, and I believe Leroy.
Leroy looks like it was a card drawn on turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
So I would assume that it is Shadow Step Blink Fox?
Shadow Step, SI7 Agent.
No, actually, I think that Shadow Step was drawn on turn 1, perhaps. Sorry, we're looking at the deck tracker right now, and things are a little bit muddy.
It's misaligned. So SI7 Agent, Shadow Step, and Evil Miscreant.
That's definitely right.
Actually, there's 4, so it'd probably be 3. So it looks like Leroy was drawn on turn 1.
PNC just going to use a Ray of Frost and removal. We've seen this exact thing happen before, which is Mage doesn't have anything to do besides play Source's Apprentice and combo, and there's no real combo cards to finish everything off. So instead, perhaps you can just use Luna's Pocket Galaxy and try to make a big comeback turn. Let Monsanto develop a little bit.
Luna's Pocket Galaxy was the key to Pheno's victory earlier against Psycho. Even against Rogue, he was just able to stall the pressure on the board early game enough to where Luna's Pocket Galaxy allowed him to go from an empty board with not that many cards in his hand to a full board with a full hand. There was one turn where he drew 8 cards from his deck, played a Sea Giant with 2 Conjurers Calling, Archmage Antonitis, and generated 4 Fireballs, which was one of the most insane mage turns I've ever seen, and it's become commonplace with Luna's Pocket Galaxy now at 5 mana, which is crazy to think about. But he still needs some tools. He needs to find those minions after Luna's Pocket Galaxy. It doesn't have any card draw to do it, so that's the big thing. Yeah.
Little damage coming here from Monsanto. PNC had the Pocket Galaxy lined up, willing to accept the damage, and that's why I think Monsanto set up the board as best as he could for maximum damage on turn 4, given that if he played Waggle Pick, he still had the same damage, but he'd be swinging 2 turns. This actually sets up the board preemptively, so he can squeeze in 4 more damage potentially.
So after seeing Luna's Pocket Galaxy, I wonder where Monsanto's mind is, because his hand is essentially all damage. He's got 2 Shadow Steps, Leroy Jenkins, and a Waggle Pick. Everything else is utility, and I know that he wants to put on as much pressure as possible.
Yeah, I like pushing damage. In fact,
so many options.
I'm starting to wonder if there's a case to play Leroy this turn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is there a possibility for him to set up a relatively reliable 2-turn lethal? He would push 5 this turn, 11 with Leroy. So he'd put PNC down to 15. He'd Shadow Step it. Next turn from hand, he would have Goblin Lackey, Leroy plus Eviscerate, which is 11 damage. So he'd need to stick 4 onto the board. Waggle Pick's a little safer. He still pushes 5 with Waggle Pick plus Goblin Lackey, which is about on par with Leroy. He just has, I guess, more options moving on the turns forward with the second swing of Waggle Pick. But Arcanilla picked up.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Looking for Giants.
Arcane's like needs to just find anything playable here. Sea Giant is important. Ooh, Mana Cyclone. So Sea Giant coming down. PNC has 2 options. He can Conjurer's Calling, he can Frost Nova. Actually, he can do everything. He has Element Evocation as well.
I wonder if he wants to Frost Nova first.
What to do? What to do?
Or Conjurer's Calling with the Sea Giant and play some Ray of Frost to try and stop some of the damage from the other side. Because if you just play the Sea Giant, you're vulnerable to Sap, which Monsanto does have 1 copy of in his hand. Or not in his hand, in his deck, sorry. If you Conjurer's Calling now and just Ray of Frost, you're still taking off much of the damage on the board, and you're not vulnerable to Sap anymore.
Yeah, I agree with this.
And it can still reload with the Mana Cyclone, so working out quite nicely.
Oh my goodness. And gets the mirror image off just in time. Oh, he gets a Frostbolt off as well, which means 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 20.
Slightly off.
Wow, he's very close to lethal.
Oh no, he's not slightly off. He would have lethal, unless one of his minions is removed, which is likely with Backstab. Like if you Backstab Sorcerer Apprentice, it's actually still a lethal setup. You need to clear 2 minions off, because we Backstab Sorcerer Apprentice doesn't kill anything else. There's 20 damage. No, it'd still be slightly off. So that'd be 27.
This is an opportunity again for Monsanto to set up some kind of lethal opportunity. If he wants to go for a race scenario. That would be requiring PNC to not have any burn. If you say backstab 0-2, go all in. I think it's just safer to go for this play. Swings the Waggle Pick and finds the Ethereal Peddler. Eviscerate the face just to get more damage in.
And I'd like to see Shadow Step on the Life Drinker. Ooh, okay.
Oh my goodness, the Leroy Jenkins draw up top. There's a Mechathune on the board, TJ.
13 points of healing. This should lock up the game for PNC. Monsanto's only out was to dig for lethal, and that's why I was saying I like the Shadow Step on the Life Drinker, because it gives him lethal guaranteed from hand the next turn, because Leroy, as long as there's no taunt, plus the Life Drinker would be exactly 9. He has less damage on board, and by leaving it on board, he may force PNC to overtrade into his board. But unfortunately for Monsanto, a one-mana Ziliax means with Mechathune on board, it can magnetize. And honestly, you probably just hit him in the face.
Time runs out on me.
Yeah.
This is very
Even
close
a
to
Frost
lethal
Nova.
avenues. Yeah. Wait, that is lethal. I was counting 29 in my head for some time.
Forgot the hero power.
Forgot the hero power, that he'd have mana for the hero power because Ziliax actually cost 1 instead of 5. So even with that, PNC, just a quick victory in game 1. That's the power of Mage when they do have the Luna's Pocket Galaxy on 5. Even against Rogue if they're under pressure, as long as they have 1 turn of stabilization, it oftentimes is enough, and they can float at low life totals. The Ziliax was icing on the cake because he could have even picked up, say, Archmage Antonidas and been able to close out the game that way with how much damage he had on his board. Archmage Antonidas plus Frostbolt Fireball would have given him enough. So a couple outs for him in that scenario, and ends up pulling it together.
Yeah, you can see the power of Luna's Pocket Galaxy really coming in there. Played on 5, and then 2 turns later, he's able to get the win just based off having a lot of cheap minions and having access, basically a bajillion combo options when he has Sorcerer's Apprentice on the board and a few other things. And the Rogue, the Rogue had an opportunity to maybe even set up like potential damage. And I kind of wonder, I want to go back to that turn where instead of playing like a Leroy to potentially like push damage, he had like a kind of a small board setter, right? He played Goblin Lackey and Waggle Pig, which I understand is like also damage as well. But the Leroy would have been 3 mana, and he already had another Shadow Step, so you could put Leroy, Shadow Step Leroy, and still push 12 damage, and if he kept minions on the board. Yep. I do wonder about that, and I'm sure that Monsanto did think about it, and he said, you know what, it's probably just on average better to set this up. Yep. It's just something I wonder if the outcome could have changed.
I don't think it would have been a 2-turn lethal setup. Because he would have put him down to 15. He would have been able to trade over his 1/1s on board. He would have 13 damage from hand the next turn. So he wouldn't need to find 2. But it could have changed PNC's play. He may have been more scared, and so it's always interesting to think about those things, especially when you're in a situation where your hand is all damage. How do you find the most efficient way to kill your opponent? If you could set up a 2-turn lethal against Mage, it's very often right to do so. Because of the fact that you can't account for all the possibilities. You can count for what's in their deck, but you can't account for when they have this huge mana cycle in turn, how many freezes, mirror images, like board generation they're going to be able to find.
Yeah, so we're going to transition into whatever their anti-mage / anti-rogue decks are. As we know, PNC's best deck against rogue is his primary deck. Monsanto most likely will be transitioned to his secondary deck that has the Betrayal, Eviscerate, Fairy Dragon, and Walk the Plank. And with those cards, we saw in the past couple of series, very impactful against the Mage's combos if you can't target it, or if you play a big giant and it gets completely destroyed.
The important part about this deck is making sure you have early minion pressure in order to make sure your removal is more effective. If you just draw all removal or all minions, then oftentimes the rogue deck can kind of feed itself because you don't have any follow-up. But we'll see how things work out for Monsanto's. Not on the coin this game, and PNC is with a Mountain Giant and Banana Buffoon in the hand early on. So already a good start for PNC.
Yeah, PNC's going to need any help that he can get. His opening hand isn't too bad, honestly. Banana Buffoon and Magic Trick and Stargaze Luna all kind of work in tandem with the Mountain Giant. Monsanto is playing a deck, though, that can deal with Mountain Giant fairly easily. That doesn't mean you shouldn't play Mountain Giant, though, just because they can have it. Walk the Plank's a one of.
Yeah, Walk the Plank's a one of. Betrayal doesn't answer one. They have Sap.
This looks like a 4-keep to me, but looks like he ditches the Magic Trick just to see if he can improve something a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, Magic Trick, the reason why I like it is just because in the end, you still get to use your mana while keeping your hand size relatively the same. And you might pick up like important cards that might be even more useful, such as Conjurer's Calling. However, it's not guaranteed.
Oof.
Coinstar gives Luna a traditionally difficult minion to deal with for Rogue unless they have backstab and SI7 agent. Monsanto has one thing almost as good with the Evil Miscreant.
Yep. Doesn't deal with it this turn, though. But on 3 mana, it's hard for PNC to gain too much from Stargaze Luna. You can't, like, Banana Buffoon plus play a Banana. Elemental Evocation's a nice start, though.
That's right, especially if he picks up Mana Cyclone. Oh my goodness. I mean, he gets one spell, but he gets another card drawn.
Behold the tools of creation.
Banana Buffoon just gets the hand size up. Mountain Giant might look really cheap, but the real big opportunity here for PNC is that Luna's Pocket Galaxy if he's able to safely get it down.
Already a big start for PNC.
Yeah, very nice combo hand.
Job done.
Monsanto has the Cobalt Librarian, has the Ethereal Lackey, has some interesting opportunities here. Even could utilize tempo through the Betrayal, but I think he wants to hold on to that for the big giants.
It allows him to get initiative on board with Betrayal and Cobalt Lackey. But I think it's too valuable of a resource to use this early on in the game.
I think so.
Especially with all these cards drawn and generated from PNC. You can't expect to be able to Betrayal this early and just use a couple of one-attack minions to be able to close out the game.
Job's done.
Sets up nicely for Walk the Plank, but PNC's got a second Mountain Giant to follow it up. Ethereal Lackey, I think, is going to be pretty big. He wants to find an answer to something big. Oh, jeez.
Head Crack, Daring Escape, and Blade Flurry. Daring Escape is interesting given that he does have some pretty high value battle cries with the Cobalt Lackey and the Ethereal Lackey. I think I want to push to 4 to face. You have Leroy Jenkins and you have Life Drinker. Those are aggressive cards, and you can even use Daring Escape aggressively to try to strike back.
Yeah, it's...
4 damage versus 1 damage is a lot, TJ.
It is, but if you think about the Daring Escape as being making up 2 additional damage, it does also make Edwin Van Cleef vulnerable to double Ray of Frost removal. There's a chance he may not even kill it at all with the Mana Cyclone.
Sure, first 5 upstairs, I like it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to miss the 4 damage to Edwin Van Cleef. I think that much is clear.
Yeah.
PNC has the opportunity to drop the Luna's Pocket Galaxy this turn. Knows that Monsanto could be coming up on a Heistbear and Togwaggle play as well, which is why maybe PNC might clear off the minions.
What to do? What to do?
Heistbear and Togwaggle is very threatening.
But is it threatening enough?
As opposed to, say, play Pocket Galaxy?
Yeah.
I'd say...
Or even Mountain Giant
so.
plus Ray of Frost.
What to do?
Okay, Mountain Giant Ray of Frost I can get behind as well. Still give him the Heist Baron, though. I guess the nice thing is that they wouldn't be able to do it immediately.
Time runs out on me.
Because if Monsanto plays Heisper and Togwaggle, then PNC will just go trade over 5/5 double Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, Cobalt Lackey is the most threatening with the Spirit of the Shark, which Monsanto ended up drawing. Still seems like an interesting opportunity for him to utilize the Spirit of the Shark and Daring Escape. He can play the Shark, or he wants to Daring Escape first, and then Shark, and then play the Ethereal Peddler, giving him opportunities to maybe answer a giant board from PNC. The biggest thing that you're afraid of is what? The Khadgar and Conjurer's Calling?
Which Betrayal should answer much of it. It doesn't feel like replaying Edwin Van Cleef is going to be worth it, just because it'll get traded over the Giant. If Conjurer's Calling is there, it'll stop that. Like it would be a 6/6. Unless he picks up a 1-mana spell, or a 0-mana spell to make it an 8/8.
Assassinate. Oh, I think he was counted for the fact he might get walked to plank number 2. You could Daring Escape and then play Van Cleef as an 8/8.
Yeah, and then it would limit the ability for PNC to trade over then Conjurer's Calling. He knows that there's a second copy of Ray of Frost in the hand, so he could Ray of Frost in one Conjurer's Calling, but then might be able to clean things up with Betrayal a little bit.
Yeah, still vulnerable to that Khadgar situation.
Yeah, which I think if he doesn't have a way to kill Mountain Giant and his opponent has Khadgar Conjurer's Calling, he's probably not winning the game anyway. And he did open himself up for the possibility, like you mentioned, of walk the plank from that Ethereal Lackey by doing this line instead of Spear of the Shark into Ethereal Lackey.
What do you think about Banana Conjurer's Calling? So you could source. You don't have this Sorcerer's Apprentice. You can just Banana the Giant, trade into it, and Conjurer's Calling 1 time.
Well, you could Sorcerer's Apprentice, Banana, Conjurer's Calling 2 times. That actually plays more into Betrayal.
Right, that's the big thing which I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
You could squeeze an Arcane Intellect.
Yeah, I think Arcane Intellect is the one that I like better in that situation, which means you might as well start off with it. Wow, just so many freeze effects. Don't think you want to do that.
Right.
Now a very rough situation for Monsanto.
Maybe. I mean, Betrayal deals with 2 of the minions, and then you can, I guess you can take 8.
Yeah, he can Hench Clan Burglar, Ethereal Lackey, then Betrayal Eviscerate. He may feel like he needs more than that, so looked like he was mousing over Spear the Shark, which means Spear the Shark plus Ethereal Lackey would be the play.
It's kind of greedy, because you need to find that backstab, basically, or prep into something. Ooh, for the upside, I do like having Spear the Shark down. Oh man, he's going for it. Ethereal Lackey's to find backstab, finds a second Betrayal, which is not too bad. Preparation.
Choose soon.
That's interesting.
He can prep Betrayal and then Dagger. Oh, interesting.
So I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to set up for a big removal next turn.
But if he just used it on the 7/8, wouldn't he just kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice in the process?
He wouldn't kill the Mountain Giant.
Yeah, you're right, because he's 1 off.
Yeah, so just kill off the
What
Sorcerer's
to
Apprentice and
do?
damage the Mountain Giant,
What
which would
to
give
do?
PNC a good target for that second half of the Conjurer's Calling.
So annoying. You're
Yeah.
right, because he didn't prep. He couldn't even prep Dagger because of the taunt. I'm an idiot. So
Just kind of an awkward turn, and that's why the one Conjure's Calling ends up being better there, because let's say he got another Mountain Giant on the side. He could have Betrayal killed off 2 Mountain Giants, not have to worry about the second Conjure's Calling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, Monsanto figured it out. It was brain fart. Of course, you can't attack something that has taunt in the way. Hearthstone 101.
That is a Tome of Intellect into Conjurer's Calling. Oh, jeez.
So if Monsanto picked the Fan of Knives, he'd actually be in a better spot to fight all these 7/8s. Killing off that 1/1 is fairly important for PNC to stop the extra Betrayal from being able to deal damage to that 7/8 or 8/7 or 1/8/1, whatever it is.
So we'll get 4 lackeys here, though. So there is a chance that Monsanto can clear off much of this board. Ooh, finds 2 Kobold lackeys as well.
Very nice. Shut down another giant this way.
Another giant. The problem is, how does he deal with this last Grave Horror?
He's already seen the Conjurer's Callings being used, though, so...
Yeah, 1 was randomly generated, though. It came from the Tome of Intellect. So Hench Clan Burglar will allow him to Vendetta in 1 Kobold Lackey, and it could help him pick up something that could buy him some time, like Ancestral Spirit.
I take this.
Frost
Too
Shot.
soon.
A quality.
Quality Fan of Knives. Woo! Obviously, that wouldn't have worked out that way because you needed Whirlwind. A quality Whirlwind. What? What? I've not seen that combo, I think, in like 4 years.
The problem for Monsanto is after this turn, he's going to be within range of literally any point of burn.
Yeah, he's 3 damage off, so PNC could reasonably just like freeze a bunch of stuff and try to see if he can go for it.
Yeah, he could even Frost Nova, Ray of Frost, ping the Spirit of the Shark.
I wonder.
And then put more minions inside of it, can play Mana Cyclone, try and pick up that last bit of burn.
It's still probably better for PNC to just kill the Shark and push 7.
Well, he can kill the Shark and still push the 10 with Frost Nova plus Ray of Frost.
Isn't the Ray of Frost just... Oh, because...
it would already have been frozen.
He could ping it,
Yeah.
Okay, by doing this...
This plays around a quality Whirlwind.
Does it, though?
Yeah. He could Kobold Lackey.
Does play around a quality Whirlwind, actually. Because he doesn't have the second proc of it.
Yeah.
Kills the Shark. Very understandably so. I think that was high priority.
Now he has a full board clear.
Yeah.
It would get rid of his entire board, though. He could Kobold Lackey, Shadow Step, or a quality Kobold Lackey, Shadow Step, Kobold Lackey on both the Stip Snaps, and then Whirlwind. He give up his whole board plus a lot of resources.
So
At the end of
many
all that, he could play like Faceless Lackey or Life Drinker. No, he wouldn't have mana for Life Drinker, so he could play Faceless Lackey, Dagger up.
What a weird turn. This is like a Tavern Brawl type scenario.
Yeah.
So many options.
He honestly just doesn't really have an option.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Right after Valier says so many options. Technically true, but you don't really have that many things you can pick your brain about because you need to clear the board and survive. Nancy's like, what? Wait for the cherry on top, the Whirlwind. Oh, I like this. The Witchy Lackey on top of the Hench Clan Burglar to make sure it survives. Unless it's former champ.
That's
That's one of the worst, too.
So that was about as good of a turn you could absolutely hope for, but he's left with just Life Drink and Leroy Jenkins in hand, so not the best tools to fight back, and PNC can just kind of go off here with a Mana Cyclone.
Yep.
A
Just one
Pyroblast.
Pyroblast. A Fireball.
Yeah.
What to do? What to do?
Magic Trick to pump the Mana Cyclone.
Yep.
Could also be good.
Don't want to use a Research Project because that is Monsanto's one big weakness right now. Is his hand just has nothing going for it. You don't really want to give him more tools. You might be thinking about Mirror
I
Entity, but I think I'd just rather have another Mage Spell, another chance for burn damage.
Yeah, I'll take even Arcane Missiles at this point. Like, I just want something to help deal with the board. Magic Trick also might give you, like, Arcane Explosion, which would be super nutty in this position. Oh, Pocket Galaxy. Okay, I wasn't expecting the Pocket Galaxy.
So he's going to hold on to Research Project, clear off as much of the damage as possible,
Job's done.
and then Research Project into, hopefully, Archmage Antonites the next turn. Even picks up Book of Specters.
Interesting.
Okay. Waggle pick probably the best draw in Monsanto's deck right now.
Right, because now he has 20 damage to the Waggle Pig Leroy Jenkins over 2 turns. And PNC's taking extra damage from these minions. Might help make up some of that difference, too. There's still a way. I mean, if you trade into this 2-2, you're playing around, what, Sea Giant?
And Pyroblast?
And Pyroblast. Sea Giant, actually no, sorry, the Luna's Pocket Galaxy already is used, but if Sea Giant was on the left side of the hand, which I don't think is really likely to happen, given that most of these spells were randomly generated. Or the bananas. PNC looking for the Antonitis, finds 2 spells, 3 spells gone. 2 mana, do nothing. He had the upside of potentially drawing to Antonitis.
Another Research Project.
PNC probably feels like he has to just freeze the board here.
Well, Sea Giant Frost Nova plus ping to the face is a 2-turn lethal setup for PNC. Because he get Banana Ping next turn for exactly 10 damage.
Exactly. Very tightly contested. And if Monsanto can land a 1 and 4 on the Leroy Jenkins,
he can reduce that to 1 and 3 with like a backstab draw.
Yep. Or perhaps another Shadow Step. Leroy and SI, if he used all of that, he would have 12 damage.
So if he gets back Life Drinker, that's also lethal.
Life Drinker or Leroy, so 50% chance now.
Or if he brings back Zale, then he could... Nope.
No, Zale's the start of the game effect. We have a 50% chance for Monsanto to win this game.
Woo! Let's see. The Zale.
Oh, the Zale. The only card that doesn't do anything when it's played. And in Monsanto's mind, he knows he's dead.
Yep.
Doesn't have enough life. It was a valiant effort.
So close.
And we're alternating wins. Rogue takes a series versus Mage. Mage takes a series against Rogue. Then Rogue beats Mage again. Then Mage beats Rogue. Back and forth. PNC is going to challenge Frozen in the winner's match of Group A.
Yeah, and it seems like Luna's Pocket Galaxy has been the key to the Mage victories, just because it gives them that one little bit of extra gas to get there, right? It was the Sea Giant at the end there. For Fino, it was Archmage Antonitis in a few of the games. If you can find a turn to play it where you're not taking too much damage, it's just the effect is so powerful over the course of the game. And even after all that, it came down to a 50-50 for Monsanto. I thought he was out of that game very early on, and the fact that he managed to claw his way back and find spots to where he had 50% chance for lethal damage at the end, a valiant effort. But he will have to fight his way He has one more chance to qualify for the semifinals.
All right.
And he may have to play against PNC or Frozen. Whoever loses that match will go down to face Monsanto for that final spot at the semis.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have special guest European Grandmasters caster step on to cast with TJ Sanders. Who will it be?